and welcome to episode 3 of Learning Blender. This is part 2 of making a table. So in episode 2, part 1, we made a beautiful looking table with some supports here to make it look realistic. However, it's missing some legs to support it. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in some legs. Oh, gosh, cut that out. Alright, cut that out, Ethan. Thank you. Now to add in extra objects, you can either press add right here and it'll get this drop down. You'll get this drop down with all of this. We'll talk about that in a second. Now the key binding for adding in will be Shift A. Again, try and memorize the key bindings because it is really helpful. Thankfully, Blender is pretty good with its key bindings, such as R is rotate, G is grab, S is scale. Easy to remember. Add starts with an A, Shift A. There we go. You can add using Shift A. It's pretty straightforward, not too complicated. Not like Control Z, which makes no sense, but it's still undo. And yes, the Control Z is undo in Blender, if you are wondering. Just because it's everywhere, I guess, but. Anyways, back onto topic, we're going to use Shift A and you'll get this add drop down. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go to mesh and we're going to go to cylinder and press. Now what we did is we spawned in a cylinder. Now you might have this drop down, you will have this drop down. However, if you select it or right click somewhere, that drop down is gone forever. And that's something you really want to avoid. So if you have this problem where you clicked and that drop down's gone, just delete the cylinder by selecting it and then pressing X to delete. You can also right click to delete. Now we're just going to add that back in, and without right clicking anything or left clicking anything, depends which one you have for your select. We're just not going to press anything, and we're just going to focus on this vertices right here. So what this does is we can pull it out and pull it in to change the number of vertices, and we're going to want to maybe go for 45. Nothing really high resolution, high poly. We're just going to keep it low and simple because there is a little trick that we have up our sleeves to make this look really smooth, but more on that later. So what we're going to do is we're going to press /, and I really like this. Basically, it hides everything except the things you're working on, which is really useful. So instead of selecting everything and pressing H to hide and then having to press Alt H to unhide, / just switches from user perspective universal to just local. So basically, yeah, just a little tip for you to be able to edit things without worrying about other things getting in your way. So what we're going to do is we're going to press S for scale and then press Shift Z. This is because we want to make it a little thinner. So we're going to scale it up on everything except the Z axis, and about there is pretty good. Now we're going to go to edit mode and use that loop cut tool we learned in the past episode. For a reminder or refresher if you need one, Control R is for loop cut. So now we're just going to scroll up, and we selected it by pressing once. And if you move it around, don't worry. Just if you're using left click select, right click. If you're using right click select, then you should be able to left click. So now we have this right here with all these rings, and we're going to want to really raise up the number of cuts to about 50. If your computer is running a little slow at this point, just maybe bring it down to 40 or 35, but try and keep it pretty decent. Your computer should be able to survive this just fine. It's not that complicated. Um, but yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to basically, we can go into the side view right here. These are really helpful because it's straight on view. We don't really need this. I'm just throwing this out so you can understand what this is for. It's helpful because if you were to grab it, you can't move it forward or backwards, so it's only up, down, left, right. So it's a helpful alternative to using the shift and then axis button, but I prefer just using the shift axis button for moving things around. It's much easier, but yeah, I just find it easier, but you can use this. I use it a lot as well to kind of get this straight on view so we can edit different things, but it's not really important right now. Right now we're just going to want to basically grab one of these loops, and basically you can use uh not control, we can use alt, holding down alt and then selecting, and as you see it selected the up down loop. We don't want that. We want to, sorry, almost deleted. Don't delete anything like me. Um, anyways, hold down Alt. There we go. Now we got it. So now we're going to scale. That's not what we want, is it? We really don't want to. What I was trying to do is kind of pull it out to make this kind of nice smooth surface, but no. What's going on, you may be wondering? That's because we're only moving these vertices and all the other vertices are staying still. But there's something called proportional editing. Turn proportional editing on and watch this. Look at that. So using the scroll mouse, you can change how much it's pulling out. Yeah, pretty straightforward. We're just going to pull this out. I'm going to use Alt Select on the top again to kind of do that. Same on the bottom, right here. Maybe in the middle. Oh, Blender. Thank you, Blender. Maybe in the middle, pull it in a little. Look at that. Wasn't that easy, huh? Very easy, very quick, looks very good. However, so many squares. If only there was a way to smooth this out without adding more vertices and breaking your computer. Lucky for you, there is. If you're using left click select, then right click, and I assume if you're using right click select, then just left click, and you'll get this object context menu drop down. Press shade smooth, and look at that, it is very smooth. So now just press / again, and we're back. So now just press S to scale it down, G and then Z to pull it down. Maybe you need to scale it upwards by pressing S and then Z. Maybe you want it a little wider by just pressing SZ to pull it up a little more. That's good for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to press this that I was talking about earlier. So basically what we're going to do is we want to fit it right here, right in between this little edge right here. So we're going to go down, grab this, and we would like to fit it there. The problem is we can't see it because we're looking straight on. So what we can do is we're going to go into wireframe mode. And as you see here, we can now see this edge. Also, this is kind of X-ray mode. It makes you see through the mesh. We don't really want that on. You can turn that off if you need to. But basically, yeah, that's all we need for now. We're looking straight on, so we don't have to worry about moving it up, down, because we have selected this. If you accidentally press the middle button and you see this, just press that again. If you press the wrong one, then it actually still shows up because we have selected this the cylinder. But as soon as you unselect it, it's going to disappear. So then uh, just select this right here. Make sure you're looking at the bottom upwards, and we're going to select that and just grab it so that it's right on the edge. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to use Shift D to duplicate. Now you just have to basically push it into the corners. You can duplicate it again using Shift D, put in the corners, duplicate one more time, put in the corners, try and make it somewhat symmetrical, but in real life, nothing's actually really symmetrical. So this is actually a little bonus. It makes it look just a little more realistic, maybe. It's really kind of hard to see. So now you basically have this, but as you see, this is not attached here. So what we're just going to do is yours may be inside the mesh, way below, way up high. Just use G and then Z to grab it up, down, and we're just going to move it up until you see it's inside the mesh. You just want it to barely poke inside the mesh. And look at that. You made a table. Look at that. Just look at that. You made that. That's pretty cool. So now you see we have everything set up. You have a table. Next, we're going to be able to texture it. And then we're going to add lighting. That'll be part 3 and part 4. I'll see you then. Have a good one, guys.